Shawn Aviles is a software engineer with experience at Amazon, Intuit Mailchimp, and Colgate. He was a founding member of Stevens Blueprint and holds bachelor's and master's degrees in computer engineering from Stevens Institute of Technology.
We delve into how Shawn came to understand and adapt to the code bases and workflows of large tech companies, and what it is like to work on features that will be used by millions once scaled.
Hello, my name is Zidanni,
And I'm Emilio.
and you are World.
We hope you enjoy our conversation.
So, hi, I'm Shawn Aviles. I am a fourth year graduate with my master's in computer engineering with a concentration in AI. I guess it's kind of like an elevator pitch, but
Yeah,
sure. I have like some past experiences. I worked at Intuit Mailchimp for about 6 months. I got to extend my internship. That was my sophomore year summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, the following year, I went to intern at Amazon, and I will be returning to Amazon as a full-time software development engineer in about a month.
Super cool. Yeah, you just graduated with your master's,
Yep.
right? So yeah, he's going to be leaving us very soon.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Which is very sad. Master's in AI. Yeah, and so something we've been doing recently is getting our guests like a little drink.
Yes.
So we got you a little cafe con leche.
Okay.
For the boy. I forget like which country you said you're from, but
so I'm Peruvian and Ecuadorian.
all right, dope. That's what I thought actually. So yeah, we
Alright.
got you, bro.
Give it a taste.
Yeah,
then?
give it a taste. Yeah.
Please do.
Solid.
Decent.
Yeah, that's good. I've been having a lot of coffee lately.
Yeah,
so
bro.
This is fire. Thank you.
And then we got you this too.
Oh,
This
wow.
is from the library. They were giving these out.
Is it
But
downstairs? I saw this on the wall.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
sick.
So
Thank you.
yeah, it's just a donut.
I'll
but-
take this. I also have a gift for you guys.
Whoa!
Hopefully the
chill.
Noi vid didn't pressure you.
No, low key it did, but
Oh,
no, it's show.
dang.
But it's your 10th session, so it's a milestone. I
It is
got
our
you
10th
guys.
Oh, dang.
I got you guys some. Or you can
Oh
actually.
my
open
god.
Oh my goodness,
Dude,
thank you so much.
I'm nervous, bro. I don't
Yeah.
even want to.
Okay.
It is
I-
edible. It's tres
Whoa,
leches.
Yo! Thank you so
Yeah, of
much.
course,
Thank
of
you,
Thank you
course.
so
This is
much.
awesome.
Congrats
Thank you, bro.
on the 10th session.
Wow.
Tres-
Here,
tres
we'll
leches.
just take it out.
Yeah,
show it
yeah,
to
for
you.
sure
Yeah.
to camera.
Dude,
There's
I'm
2 of
gonna
these.
destroy this. I'm gonna eat this and take a nap after this, bro.
They're so good. We love them.
Oh yeah, I got it from the Dulce de Leche bakery. On my
Oh
way
yeah,
here.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank
of
you,
course.
thank you, Shawn. I'm like distracted now, bro. I don't even want to do this. Okay, but yeah, we can get into it. Thank you so much again.
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned you worked at Intuit Mailchimp, and Amazon, two very large companies, like for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
You worked on a tool at Mailchimp specifically, an AI assistant tone selection feature that they implemented into their products, which reached over 300,000 users. So could you discuss a little bit the challenges and what it entailed to integrate like such a large feature to such a large audience, and like sort of what that looked like, the software development process and doing
Yeah.
that?
So I guess for some more context, I was a part of the Gen AI marketing team.
Mhm.
So it was one of like the first teams at Mailchimp that was working to integrate generative AI into its products. And this was like it was kind of in the middle of that big like AI phase where every company's like, we got to integrate it in somehow. And also a little more context, Mailchimp, definitely not as big as Amazon.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was still in that phase of being bought by Intuit. So there was still a lot of MailChimp culture still there. And I remember like reading on like Blind all of like the reviews of like engineers leaving MailChimp after like being bought. And it was just that whole idea. And there were a lot of shifts in management from Intuit at the time, and kind of trying to shift us to use more of their tech because they already pay for the licenses for a lot of things. So that was like kind of in the background while we were working on it. But my team was part of like Gen AI marketing, and essentially we had like a whole content creator studio that we managed, and it came from, I believe, like a startup that was acquired a couple years before I got there, like way more years before I got there.
Wait, sorry. Before we go further, can you give us like a time period of when this happened? Because this was during like the start of the AI bubble and when larger companies started to adopt AI. So
Yeah.
this is when you joined Mailchimp.
Yes, I joined MailChimp the summer of my sophomore year. So what is that, like 2022, 23? One of those summers.
You're old, bro.
Yeah,
You're
sounds
old.
about sounds about.
Yeah, 20. That does sound right though.
Yeah, yeah.
2022. Yeah.
So I remember like attending one of like our first town halls, for the company, and it was just like AI, and I was like, oh wow, this is real now. And it was cool because my team was like kind of in the center of it. And of course, like I was just an intern. Like I was sophomore year summer. I barely knew that much stuff. I did some side projects, and that was really it. I got lucky because my previous year's research, I used PHP, and MailChimp is known for having like a really old like PHP tech stack with a lot of the core stuff. So that's kind of how I got it. But as far as the feature goes, we were trusted to work on this AI tone selection, or it was actually like a whole AI inline kind of chatbot feature for the email editor, which is like their flagship product. Big word, I guess. But but we got to work on it, and that internship was a little weird because I didn't really get an intern project. I kind of just got onboarded onto the team. So my mentor just worked really closely with me, kind of handheld me a bit for my first couple months, just like kind of working in our own services that we own. We own a lot of microservices for our product. And then from there, I got a little more independent. And I think by the time I was contributing to this was probably towards the end of my internship in my third month. So like in kind of July, August time. Yeah. And this product was kind of due at the end of September, I believe, or like the end of August. Yeah. So there were lots of tickets, just kind of, we used Jira, so a lot of tickets on the board. I ended up picking up one. It was a lot of React stuff. I happened to be pretty familiar with React from side projects, and then just like, I was like, this is familiar, let me try it. And I was able to contribute and create this feature. It wasn't too crazy. Like a lot of the core underlying technology for it, like of course it's a team. So we had back-end guys, we had front-end guys, we had full stack. We had people like higher than us that were managing like what we were using, what we were allowed to use. And I just kind of worked on the front end aspect of it and just connected the bits to the back end for this specific feature. And I know 300,000 seems like a lot, and it is because a lot of them are hitting our like core email editor, because it's really big for like smaller businesses with like their email marketing and all like their campaigns that they do. So, and like the AI inline editor was free for a good portion of the time, that at least early on it was like demoable. Before they had to like, I don't know, they had any type of payment plan. I don't even know if they do, honestly. I haven't really kept up with it. But it was really cool getting to work on the project. And I didn't do anything special. It was kind of just like more work. I think all the features that we worked on for that was high visibility with like higher management, as it was kind of one of the first AI products for them. So they really wanted it to do well. But yeah, it was just kind of a lot of testing. And I think I'll kind of be able to get into it more a little later on with some of the other questions too. Yeah, definitely. But it was just, I guess, more advanced testing for that. We did a lot of feature flag testing. So like, say for example, we released it to like a lot of A/B testing as well. So we released it to like 20% or 5% at first, see if there are any bugs, see if any services go down, then 10%, 20%, and then I don't know, 50, whatever. We scaled it up a lot. And you're talking about percent of, total users of MailChimp, or like of like a test group, or what? Yeah, no, that's a great question. So this is one of the questions I actually asked when I was interning. So it's scaled up by the people that accepted essentially like the terms of service and wanted to use the product, and that were actually visibly seeing it. Because of course there's like users of MailChimp that may not be using the email editor specifically, but they're using some other service that we have, like, I don't know, the domains or stuff. So it was mainly for that. And we opened it up by, if you were to like kind of click the, I guess, terms of service and you see it, you get entered into like some type of experiment or some type of feature flag for that feature. And we got to push stuff to those specifically. And of course it took a while, but we kind of just released it slowly like that. And there's like lots of other features that I got to like work a lot closer on like the release schedule for, but since that was such a big thing, kind of just helped the whole team with the initiative, and then kind of got to see it take off.
I'm kind of curious because when we talked with Christian, he kind of mentioned this as part of the onboarding for Capital One. But when you did your onboarding at MailChimp, was there some sort of like AI onboarding on how to properly use the AI tools, or like the AI inline code editors?
Yeah, actually, there is a lot of that now. At the time, we did have like an internal one, since Intuit was managing a lot of the AI like internals. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about it essentially, but almost every company I've worked for now, like also like Amazon and Colgate, they have internal stuff that you got to do it. And yeah, it's just like a little course you take, how to use AI, what to put into it, what not to put into it. But I know he mentioned it as well, but yeah, a lot of these companies have like specific licensing with, I don't know, like Microsoft or usually Microsoft actually,
Yeah.
but or whatever company owns like the actual like model to make sure that none of their models get trained on the company's data.
Really?
So that's how they kind of keep it private.
Do some companies locally download models and then have have them used that way, rather than like all their users rather than having like an enterprise subscription or something like that, they'll just locally download a model onto their server and just use it that way?
So I feel like, well, I'm not 100% sure. I'll start off
Yeah.
with that. But if I were to take an educated guess, I know at least like for like Azure, they have their own like dedicated servers for their own like AI models that you can use. And I know one of the companies I used to work for would use that to help manage their services and kind of just streamline everything to that. And that works at scale. But again, and then it's like you're kind of recreating the wheel. And of course, like kind of all software does that to a point. But it's like however much you want to just redo whatever that company's product already is.
Yeah.
And if you already have like a relationship with that or other company, you might as well just take advantage of the
Yeah,
stuff
like you
that.
said, if they already have a deal, then like why
Yeah.
not? Yeah, what's the point?
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I know we just said something else, but that's so interesting to me that you worked on like inline code completion, or I guess mail.
Yeah, it was more like
mail.
it was just like just text, email content.
Yeah, but I feel like when that first came out, my mind was like blown, bro. I was like,
it was really cool when I got to hear like in one of the team meetings, like this is what we're gonna work on now. I was like,
yeah,
what?
Yeah. Like that's so cool. And like Zidanni mentioned before, like you were kind of right at that bubble, like 2020, summer 2022. So like that's just really cool to me. Basically, that's all I want to say.
Thanks.
Yeah.
There, something that I noticed that like a lot of like the larger companies, they're very quick to adapt to AI, and a lot of the actually I shouldn't talk about this. Okay. Okay, next question. So what considerations were essential for ensuring stability and performance for such a large user base?
Especially with AI, with like what you're just saying.
Oh yeah. I know like moderation was a huge thing. That was definitely like a big issue or thing that they had to handle, and they had different like pipelines for handling that specific, just like model on model to handle the stuff. And it was cool because there were times where like we are like, oh, we have this issue, and then we see some random LinkedIn post that went viral talking about how to handle that specific issue because of how popular it was at the time. And like moderation was a good example there. I think there was like a LinkedIn post talking about, oh, let's have this, you can use like another model to detect the intent of some text that's getting passed in before it gets passed to this other model, and it happened to have like really positive reviews due to some person's testing, and it was like, oh, now let's look into this and see if that's a possibility. So it was a lot of like, I don't know, bleeding edge, I don't know if that's the term, but it was a lot of cool things that were up to date. And as far as like the ensuring stability, it kind of goes back to like the A/B testing, the like feature flags that we had, and as we like released it to different percentages of the user base and making sure that no services went down, there weren't any issues, monitoring all like the logging. And
is it common for I guess you guys to look at like open source projects like posted on social media as like reference, like as like something to potentially look into if you find it interesting?
I mean like I was just an intern at the time, so I didn't really contribute to like the heavy hitting stuff, like the whole pipeline managing like moderation or anything like that. But they were really open, especially with like interns or like anyone working. Like if you see something online that somehow, like I remember there was like an OpenAI like YouTube video that dropped, and they were like announcing like some of the new features for like their API, and like I think one of them was that it was enabling like JSON specifically to be outputted from the API, as before sometimes it was just text and not formatted correctly. It was like high temperature, so not everything always worked perfectly as you expected, and that caused some bugs for us. So as soon as we saw like that JSON thing, we were just like, let's get that in there. Let's see how this works. I don't think we were really necessarily looking at any OpenAI or any open source projects specifically.
Yeah.
But we definitely were like taking inspiration, or like if something was like newly released, they were kind of going into that.
Were you able to suggest like possible implementations?
I mean, yeah, I wasn't as like, I did a lot of the front end stuff, to be honest, like personally at the time, and I was interested in it. So like as soon as I heard the JSON thing too, I like brought it up in a meeting, and then my manager was like backed me, and he was like, yeah, they came out with that. Let's talk to like the other team that's managing the service and see if we can enable that.
Oh wow, really? So something you said kind of like came to fruition in a way.
Yeah, I feel like it was gonna come up in conversation anyways, but yeah, I brought it up because
you're like let me talk first.
Yeah,
let me bring it up.
I mean,
yeah. Another similarity with Christian that I think you guys have is Christian also said like and it seems like your experience at Mailchimp was pretty rewarding. You know, like
Oh, yeah,
like you learned
100%.
a lot of stuff about like feature flagging, and you know, like I didn't know anything about that either until you just told me. So, so would you say like, you know, working at a big company like this, or you know, at the time they weren't super big, but working for, you know, a larger tech company can give you some like really valuable skills to apply to, you know, like more personal software development?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I liked my time at Mailchimp because it was kind of like startup-y, where we had like a lot of mini services handled by our team. That was other stuff handled by other people's teams. We're moving really fast with the AI stuff, and I felt like overall it was really cool because the technology and the tech stack we were using, it wasn't as proprietary or specific to Mailchimp. Like, I used some like open source stuff. I happen to like React, for example. I used React in personal side projects. I got to use it there. PHP, it was much more advanced what they were using, but I had used it before. And like some of the other like microservices they were using technologies that I hadn't heard about, but they were open source.
So wait, they use PHP in the backend?
As it was kind of like a proxy server for a lot of the other
okay.
stuff. Not like full backend, but
Okay.
yeah. I think that's public knowledge,
Yeah.
so I think I can talk about that part.
It's like, wait, write that down.
Yeah.
No, but like you said, I think that's a great point, that it wasn't like super proprietary and like niche stuff. Like you were doing inline completion. You know, that's a very general thing. So like you got to make a real, you know, like impact. So yeah, that's really really awesome.
Isn't it the trend for internships? Like you usually get put in interns usually get put in these smaller, more, I guess, like isolated groups from like the important stuff, like these smaller projects, like experimental. Like
No, 100%.
That's what Christian said too.
Yeah, usually you do, and I remember like when I was at my internship, I talked to Christian. He's telling me about he's working with other interns, and I'm just like, I didn't get that experience, but I also got to be grateful for the experience I got because I got to work on my own and kind of just slowly built up to. I felt like I was, at least when I had like one-on-ones with my manager, he was like, yeah, you're kind of contributing like a part-time to full-time engineer at this point, because I was so independent at the end of like my 6 months that I would just pick up tasks. And I did want to learn at the same time, but I was like in the middle of like, should I stay comfortable with the front end stuff that I know because I can contribute to this team that way, or do I like keep building and trying to learn more of the back end or some other like service stuff that we were working on? And but yeah, overall it was really cool getting to have the experience of working alongside the team rather than getting like sheltered in my own place.
Yeah.
But I can talk more about that too with my other Amazon experience.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's different.
Yeah, we could definitely move on to Amazon. So, like, you know, you just talked about how it was, you know, a nice startup culture. Like, you like that. You got to, you know, make some real impactful changes. And you did talk about the scalability too, how it was still like a very, I guess, formal like process, you know, with feature flagging, like beta testing, all that stuff. So I guess, how did that change once you got to Amazon? Because Amazon is, you know, like maybe the biggest, you know, arguably the biggest company that you could work at. So like, how did, I guess, the software scale, and how did your job like become different working at Amazon compared to Mailchimp?
Well, I guess Amazon's size just definitely didn't go unnoticed. It was very big, so you kind of, it's mainly you getting managed by your team rather than like as much as like the big like intern group, because there's like thousands of interns across all the locations. And I was like in a smaller office, not even like the main office in Boston where I was working. And I got to be close with my team though, so that was really nice. And that one was more of like, I would say, the traditional intern experience where I was given a project specifically. I wasn't like working with the team. I got my project early on, got to work on it, do more research on it. And there's a lot of onboarding for them too, so getting to learn. And they had a lot more like proprietary software. I don't know if that's the correct word, but a lot more specific to the company that they use only internally. So it was a lot to learn. And because I had the experience before at Mailchimp where they were using all these open source technologies, and I can look it up online. There's like endless resources for that. For them, it was a little different, but they had a lot of internal resources that I was able to take advantage of. And because they're so massive, it's like you have an issue with something, there's a very high likelihood that someone else had that issue at some point, and you can just like kind of use their internal search stuff to find someone else who had that problem and solve it.
So they have their own like version of like Stack Overflow.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Dude, that's how big they are. They just have their
They
own. They
really are that big.
Wow, very very cool.
That's cool. So, what were the biggest technical challenges you faced during your time at Amazon?
I don't know if it's like specifically technical.
Or like any challenge?
The biggest challenge was just kind of getting familiar with AWS. Like I had no idea how to do anything or how to use it. I was just kind of like, oh, that's like a cloud service. and there's so much to it. I remember it was just like spending days, like I'm a big podcast guy, so I would just listen to like AWS podcasts or like something like osmosis, just like listening to in the back while I'm like walking to the gym or like walking home from work.
Do you feel like that helped you?
Definitely podcasts as a whole definitely helped me. That's why I really like what you guys are doing with all this stuff. Like cool. It's really cool. Like if I was a freshman, I would be listening to this stuff.
Awesome.
I was really listening to like, it was more web development stuff at the time, but it got me in the mindset of like, how do industry professionals think about the whole industry? And like what are people that have like 20 to 30 years of experience thinking about all the stuff that's going on today?
Well, what were your hugest takeaways from listening to these podcasts that you think like genuinely helped you throughout life?
I guess having like knowledge on the whole industry was really cool because like I don't know, I can't really think of a good example, but just being aware like, oh, Node just had this new update, or like the context of like how JavaScript and like ECMAScript and all that stuff was in the past, and how they released like the standardized changes for like every version. I don't know.
So it kind of just like keeps you updated.
It kind of keeps me updated. So like, I don't know. I had a lot of friends like Christian and like my friend Ricky at the time. I'm still friends with him, but we would have like conversations about it. And Ricky, bro's cracked, but he would. I would talk to him about this stuff, and it was like if I hadn't listened to this podcast, I would have no idea what I'm talking about. And like he was really like on top of that stuff, so it was really cool how holding like those, I guess, technical conversations.
No, that's so useful. I feel like him and I have a lot of those conversations too, and like. I guess my version. I actually don't listen to that many podcasts, but I do. I am like subscribed to this like it's called like TLDR newsletter.
Yeah, I am too.
And so and like that's my version that keeps me updated, and I'll always like send him articles or like text him stuff about that because I think it's like that's so important to keep up, and
100%.
It lets you know what's the best, like what to use, and but I forget what was the original quote. What was your biggest challenge? I guess.
I guess
AWS.
just learning the tech stack, learning the internal tools that like, because I had the outside comparisons, I can be like, this is this version of that, or like this is this version of Git. Like it's like a different aspect of it. It handles this job while this other thing handles this other job.
Yeah, because you wouldn't actually use these like brand new technologies within Amazon. You just kind of find the parallels between what you already know and what Amazon. Okay.
Well, I mean, they do use like relatively new stuff. They are like trying to push for things like that, but I don't know, they have like their own build system and stuff that's like been with them for years. So it's like you're relying on that for everything. And I got a little bit of both because like my project, for example, was like something React related. So I got to build the front end, but I had to use their specific technology to learn how to deploy it and handle it. And they have their own like pipelining thing where you can kind of like have staged deployments and all that. Like, I know you guys are kind of familiar from Blueprint and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of figuring out how to work in their own environment. But I would say that was the hardest, and like kind of having stricter deadlines for everything.
Yeah, that's true.
You think that the type of workflow that you did at Amazon is like applicable to smaller, smaller scale projects like startups?
I think it really depends. Like my project, I guess I never really mentioned, I was part of like the pre-start team, so it was like part of Amazon's like HR ecosystem. And it had like an interesting position in that HR ecosystem, in a place that it kind of handled data from like upstream teams to downstream teams, and upstream kind of being like recruiting and like managing employment details and stuff like that, and passing it down to like contingency teams, like the teams that handle like your work authorization, and like putting that in the proper place data wise and like third party wise, and having all that handled. So while I was there, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Well, do you think like the workflows and pipelines that you kind of went through at Amazon is applicable to smaller scale projects like a startup? Because like I know like at enterprise everything's a lot more stable, and it's a bit slower than how it starts, but at the same time it's a lot more, I guess, efficient in when it comes to like larger teams. But I was just wondering if it's applicable to startups.
I would say no, and not like it'll never be like that, but it's more just like the amount of people that things have to get like signed off by for things to get done, or like the systems that you gotta, like the hoops that you gotta jump through at like an already established place compared to just like a startup. I feel like it's always going to be different.
Christian said that too, not to keep referencing like his episode, but he was like he said before anything happened, like 5 people had to like look at his code and like and had to ask, he'd be able to answer questions and stuff like that. So
well, I mean, that didn't really necessarily like follow for my project specifically because it was like an intern project, and they know like things are gonna break, things or whatever. But like any like actual thing that the team was working on, they were like, oh, let's get our manager to sign off on this. Let's get there. Let's like, is this the direction that the higher ups want to go in? What are we gonna do in this regard? So there's a lot of checks and balances, I guess.
Yeah.
So you did you majored in CS, right?
I majored in computer engineering.
Computer engineering, sorry, but you had a concentration in artificial intelligence.
So my undergrad was concentration in software development, and then now I am majoring for my master's, also computer engineering, but concentration in AI.
Why did you choose computer engineering, actually?
Good question. So I went to like an engineering-based high school. So
In New Jersey?
In New Jersey, yeah. I went to Bergen County Academies.
Okay.
So I took a lot of engineering classes, so a lot of like 3D modeling, electronics, CAD stuff. And coming here, I was like, let me be a mechanical engineer because I was like, that's the streamlined answer. It's like, if you don't know what you want to do as an engineer, you become a mechanical engineer. That's kind of like the answer.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, so I did that, and like luckily at Stevens, all engineers take the same first 2 semesters of classes. So I was like, I have time to figure out what I want to do. And then I was there, and I was like, I really like this the engineering 116, whatever the engineering
116,
the first coding class, and I really liked it. And I was like, I want to do more coding, and I feel like I would enjoy this longer term than all like the physical stuff. But then as I got to the second semester, I realized I really liked design too. We had to build like a robot to just kind of like drive through a course, and it had like sensors and all that. And I really liked 3D modeling it. I really liked soldering. I really liked all that electronic stuff. And I remember actually, and then after realizing that, I was like, I don't want to move to CS because I'd have to take completely different classes and maybe not graduate early. But I do want to move to something more adjacent. So that's why I chose computer engineering. And I remember at the time, actually, I was, this was when I was like close with Ricky, and I know Christian kind of mentioned it. I don't know if you guys ever met him, but he's also working at Amazon now too. He's gonna be working in Boston, so I'll see him when I get there. Nice. But we were talking about it. I remember he was doing so much software stuff. He was like a big influence on me with the like software engineering, and we were working on that robot, and he was in a different class, and he was telling me all the, like how much he disliked all the physical aspects, and I really enjoyed him. So he ended up switching to CS, and I remember him telling me that he was working on the robot, and he completely just kind of disregarded what the assignment was and made the robot be able to be controlled from his phone. So he just kind of like added a whole extra feature to it. And I was just like, all right, like I like CS, but I don't like it that much.
Yeah, you're like,
but,
yeah, this isn't for you, man. Just go to CS. Like,
yeah, I mean, he loves CS now. Like he really enjoyed it. So I felt like that was the right decision for him, but it also showed me like, well, I thought it was really cool at the same time. I was like, maybe I could do that, but not really. And it made me realize I do like the engineering aspect a lot. So I decided to stick with computer engineering. And then, I mean, every job I applied to was like CS or computer engineering related field.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could pretty much get into like every job listing I've seen. It's been the same.
Exactly.
But yeah, I guess this is a more Steven specific question that just came into my mind. Like, could you speak a little bit about I guess the masters in, I know you didn't master it necessarily in AI, but like what's like the AI concentration like at Stevens? Because I think like a lot of people, a lot of freshmen or like, students at Stevens are considering like that path.
Yeah, I just felt like, well, originally I was gonna like double down. I was gonna get a concentration in software again, but then I realized I was like, I already got my undergrad in that, so what's the point? And I felt like I would benefit from the AI classes, just a couple like applied machine learning or like any other machine learning class, and I felt like I liked them. I actually did like AI research. I took like quantitative bio, and there was like a final paper we had to do it on something. So I did it on neural networks at the time.
Oh, very.
That was my sophomore year thing. I think that also helped me get into MailChimp. It happened to just be.
Aren't you taking that class too? Quantitative biology?
Oh, yeah, I actually am, yeah. I'm taking the asynchronous version.
Oh, no, I took it async too. We just had like a final project and...
The paper, right?
Yeah, the paper.
Oh, that was so
fun. He just wrote that too, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's like you did it on neural network style.
Exactly, yeah. So I just did it on like a neural network. And it was like the most simple thing. It was like... But he gave us a data set of like trees that he took pictures of. And I really liked it at the time. And then I was like, oh, it taught me, I got to do research into like what a neural network actually is and like all that.
That's awesome.
So then that kind of led me down to like, maybe I should figure this out or learn more. And then after hearing all the stuff at MailChimp, I was just like, okay, I kind of like, AI is such a big thing. I feel like having its name on my degree would be worth more than just getting the same thing as my undergrad.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
And you think it's worth it at Stevens to do? Like, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely learn a lot, and there's like lots of good information. The professors are pretty good. So yeah, definitely. If you're interested in AI, and it's just a concentration. Like I'm still getting the computer engineering degree, so it's not like I'm throwing away other things. I just get to learn more about a specific topic. So
That's really cool.
It was pretty good.
So so you did your concentration in, you took some classes in AI, like applied machine learning, and you also worked at enterprises like Mailchimp and Amazon. So I was wondering, how do you foresee AI impacting the development, maintenance, and scalability of these software systems?
Yeah, so I feel like my opinion on AI and like software engineering is that like I don't think we're losing our jobs anytime soon. I definitely see it as a tool, and of course like vibe coding and stuff like that you guys talked about on the previous podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to ask you about that very soon.
I mean,
It
yeah.
has to come back every episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can't go a single episode. We can't escape.
But I definitely feel like it's a really big tool, and I know like the companies I've worked for, like usually they push for AI to be used for like maybe unit testing or stuff, things that are like repetitive or don't require a lot of big context on like the entire code base. But as things get more complex, I don't think human engineers are ever going to go away. If anything, they'll kind of get faster with it. And I feel like sometimes it hurts. Like I've like turned off Copilot in some of my projects because I'm just like, I want to learn it more. I want to be like quicker and then actually know what I'm doing rather than kind of relying on it for things. Or of course, at first it started off like I don't got to Google this anymore.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like, oh, let me just put it in a comment and like then it'll create what I'm doing. And then it was just like, I feel like I'm kind of forgetting the syntax a little bit or forgetting like the specific niche things that go with like a language. And it's like, even though it's quicker doing it the other way, and like if I want to get something done, I do it that way. But I just feel like it depends on how you use it and how effective it could be.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's pretty much like, it's pretty true, I would say. But yeah, what was your question about vibe coding today?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How do you approach vibe coding, and I guess like especially since you've worked on more proprietary technologies and you've had some like restrictions in terms of like how you could approach coding with AI. So I guess what's your opinion on it? Like how do you use it in your internships, or how do you think you're going to use it at your job?
Yeah, so I feel like when it comes to vibe coding, it really depends on just what's available. Like the languages or the models are trained off what's like publicly available. So if it's really proprietary, it's like good luck, have fun. You're not gonna get that much information off of it. I've had like previous experiences like my current internship where if I even try to use like the internal technology for that, it's not really that helpful. But it kind of teaches you to like do your own research first and like be like, okay, this is the documentation that I found with this specific thing. How would I change it to do this other specific task that I'm working on? And it helps like thinking in the perspective, I guess, of the AI, but obviously it's just kind of like a fancy autocomplete. You just give it the correct information to think about or to reason with, and then you can kind of figure out from there or try to get the better output that you want. So it really is like a tool to take advantage of in that case. But bottom line, it's not super helpful when it's like proprietary or
which is
not
like
publicly available.
Which I guess if you're a software engineer, you're only really working on like proprietary like.
I would say it depends. Like I know there's lots of like GitHub Enterprise like or just like using like Node.js or like React. Like you can figure out how to do stuff like that. But like if it's a specific like build system for a company that it doesn't know how to handle like a specific issue, it's like then you got to ask people. But I feel like most of the time it just depends, of course. But like technology, like if I have a React question, I wouldn't be afraid to ask it. But if I had like this React is not working with this specific version and this specific dependency that's built by my company, like stuff like that, that's when I would be a little hesitant.
When was that happening? That happened to us the other day. We're working on something right now, and like it was like they didn't update the documentation on like whatever, like Claude.
Oh
like,
yeah, so
it's so annoying, bro.
You know, of course you know what Tailwind is.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting Tailwind to work with Vite on a React project, like that hasn't been like that new information hasn't been like updated on like Claude or like ChatGPT or like Gemini. So I guess this like to reiterate, like you kind of have to, you can't just completely rely on AI, and you still have to know how to like navigate documentation 100%. And stuff. Yeah, that's just like a problem that we had the other day. It's like
I mean, I know they got like at least for Tailwind and Vite, it has pretty good docs for that. Like I remember always having to Google it.
Yeah,
and there's like one page.
Yeah, the one,
that one
yeah,
page.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, okay. I forget every time. I'm just like, oh, that's how you do it.
Well, that's good to know that even someone like you, like who's like very accomplished, forgets.
Oh no, you forget a lot.
Yeah,
it's really that's why I don't like using AI as much either, because you forget even more when you're not the one writing it.
But yeah, like you've given us so much, I guess, great insight. Like working at MailChimp, working at Amazon, and in all your other endeavors. What's like, I guess, one big takeaway that you can give to students who hope to be in a similar position as you, working with software at scale and as a software engineer?
Yeah. So I think like one of the biggest things that are like in mind whenever I work on anything, especially now, it's like, it's kind of a little cliche, but it's like you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. It's just kind of like a matter of how much time, effort, and like discipline you want to have.
That's so cliche.
It is cliche,
but
it's
so true. It's so
true. But I feel like
So
in
true.
terms of like software engineering specifically, it's like someone can give you a thing. It's like, go make a website for something, and it's like you have all the tools at your fingertips. And I feel like this is one of those like industries that's really cool, because you can build, I don't know, like the next Facebook just by having a laptop in front of you. And I don't really think you could say that about a lot of things. Like usually you need some type of physical stuff, or any like robotics, mechanical engineering, anything like that. But here it's like you can build something that people want to use, and it's right there. And it's like, yeah, it takes you a while to read the documentation, but the documentations are meant for people who don't know what they're doing to figure out what they're doing. And it's just like a matter of how much time you want to spend reading that, applying it. And then the only, I guess, thing that would kind of add on to that is asking for help. Like, yeah, you can figure something out if you spend like a year reading docs and like practicing it, but you can also probably figure it out in maybe a couple of months if you ask someone who knows it and they can like teach you. And I feel like that's something I take when I, like, I don't know, intern anywhere or whenever I work, and it's like I'm stuck on a problem, and it's like I know I could figure it out if I give myself a week. And I'm just like, let me use every single possible source, but I can definitely finish it out in like maybe like a 1 hour chat with some dude who's done it like 20 times before me.
It's like I'm like shedding a tear right now. That was so inspirational.
Because you didn't even come into college like knowing that you wanted to do CS. Like you came in as like an engineer, and you just realized through the coding engineering class that maybe coding's for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely like the problem solving aspect, and like being able to solve it with just my laptop, not having to worry about a lot of physical limitations and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. So you gave us the what students can do. What are some things that students should not do if they want to be a software engineer? Like just some common pitfalls.
I guess stay away from CS majors, Reddit.
Like, oh my
goodness. You're not cooked. It's fine. Definitely just like try hard in classes and like do what interests you. Like if you want to make a project that does something, like definitely projects is huge. Like just do whatever interests you and work on things that you'd be proud of. And don't think necessarily like this is good for the resume. Well, like, yeah, it would be, but it'd be better if like, and you'd want to actually contribute to it if it's something that you're more interested in.
Did you grind leak code?
Yeah. But I wouldn't say I grinded it too much. I've had definitely my fair share of fails. I would definitely say I got lucky with my interviews for the different companies. It happened to just like match up, or like I got questions where I was pretty well, it was like a good topic that I was already pretty strong in.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, yeah, I hate leak code. There was a time where I was doing like the daily leak code for a couple months. Yeah, I was in the weeds.
Yeah. So you have to trade off a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah,
something that I know turns like a lot of like CS majors off, especially like in this year, like that I've talked to like my friends that are CS majors. Those posts where it's like a graph of like these are all the jobs that I applied to.
Oh, it's
and
like
it kind of like thins out.
Sankey diagram or something.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, it kind of like thins out, and it's like one acceptance and like 2,000 jobs. Of like, I just find that so funny.
Oh yeah, I was definitely like, I don't think I ever made one of those diagrams, but I like tracked everything on Notion, and I think I was on maybe like 100 to like 200 my sophomore summer, and then like 100 this past the summer before after that.
Thank you so much. Like such great advice. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Shawn. It was awesome talking to you.
Yeah, it was nice
insightful.
talking to
Thank
you
you.
guys.